Ada for calling my roommate's family a bunch of misogynists and asking her to move out. Throwaway, because RM knows about my main. I-26F am an Assistant Loco Pilot. A train driver in layman's terms. If you haven't already guessed, it's an extremely male-dominated position, with women not being recruited for the job until around 20 years ago. It wasn't my dream job. It was my father's job that I was offered by the railways after his accident in the line of duty, and I had to take over for my family as the breadwinner. Gone to the point. I live in a city away from home, so I rent a flat with a younger woman who is studying. She studies for late hours, so she doesn't have a problem with my crazy schedules, as I have a ton of night duties that don't follow any shift system. I do pay more rent because she's a student and I sort of inconvenience her with my schedule. However, recently after her family visited her and went back, she started being cold towards me. When I confronted her about it, she said her mother didn't like the way I behave and that I'm practically a man. The way I behave is wear a shirt and trousers pair, that's the uniform for it, in case it wasn't clear to work, and work on small electric projects during leisure time. That's something my father and I used to do when I was younger, and it's a memory I hold of him. According to my RM's mom, having such a job, dressing up like a man, working on man stuff, her words, not mine, practically makes me a man, and that my RM should be wary of me. And the next thing I might start doing is drinking until late and having rowdy alcohol parties with my work buddies at the flat we share. Even if it isn't my dream job, I take it seriously because I have 2 younger siblings, my mom and my grandparents, to support. It's not obvious, but the job gives a lot of physical and mental stress. I said if that's the problem for her, maybe RM should be moving out of the flat to make her misogynistic family happy. The only reason we got the flat to rent is because I'm a government employee and I pay more share of the rent in compensation for the inconveniences. My RM then called me an and other profanities because she can't find a place so soon as she's a student, and it's unfair of me to ask her to move out because of her old-fashioned family. TL Dr. Roommate's family called me too masculine and told her to be wary of me, so I asked her to move out. Edit for info, since I saw a couple questions. I work in the Indian Railways. The Indian Railways is a central government organization. It has a scheme for the employees to offer their spouses a pension or offer their eldest child a job when the employee dies before their retirement or gets unfit to work. In case of the eldest child taking the job, if the child is an adult, they are given training immediately while being paid a stipend. If the child isn't an adult, the spouse is given a pension until the child gets old enough to take on the job. Update: I've read the comments on my post, and while most were supportive, thank you all for that, I've seen some suggest my RM possibly having problems within her family. I have to admit, I haven't given a thought in that direction. I'm privileged enough to come from a family that doesn't believe in gender norms, so my mind didn't go in that direction. Also, some of you suggested RM's father could have been abusive towards her mother or her. Considering all that, I decided to have a talk with her. Thankfully, her father isn't an alcoholic or abusive, but it became very apparent to me that her parents, especially her mother, is extremely controlling. If anyone doesn't know, breaking out of a mother's control, especially as a daughter, is very difficult. When I sat her down and talked with her, she apologized for the profanities and behaving the way she did. As it happens, her mother all but warned her to not get close to me, because of which she stopped interacting with me completely. I told her I understand, and that I was there for her. I told her that I would have understood if she told me what happened. She replied by saying that she didn't really know what to do or what to say to me or to her mother. While I said we've resolved this and she really doesn't have to move out, she said she thinks that her moving out is actually a good idea, because she feels she'd piss her mother off more if she continues to share with me. Meanwhile, since a couple of people suggested that I move to the railway quarters, I looked into that. I plan on shifting my mother and my grandparents here because it would be easier for my mother if she stays with me, since one of my younger siblings is already staying in their university's hostel, and the other would be leaving for their university in August-September. I definitely cannot house my mother and grandparents in the current flat. One of my dad's old friends who still works with me kindly agreed to look into it and see if he can speed up the process due to his connections. I told my RM if the processing and paperwork goes through, I will move into the quarters in September, and since their new semester starts in September, she can find a new roommate who is more acceptable to her parents and keep the place. I also told her that if she decides to stand up to her mother, I will be by her side and support her, no questions asked. P.S. People from other countries, please don't start saying that me getting my dad's old job is fake or my culture is unfortunate, because it expects me to take care of my family. Every country operates differently, and due to different societal situations, we have laws and policies that might seem strange to you. And every culture has different ways of doing things, and I think this is one of the very nice things about mine. I would have taken care of my parents and grandparents anyway, even if my father hadn't been in the accident and lived to see his retirement.